So everyone, your last Moonlighter of the night, please give it up for Devin Ferreira.
Let's hear it for Joel, everyone. Let's also hear it for all the other presenters tonight. Thank you guys for sharing your stories. And also, I just want to shout out to Shauna, because what you shared in those like 15 seconds, like towards the end, about the challenges of being an entrepreneur, I was like, yeah, like she's a real entrepreneur because she's felt that. So let's just hear it for Shauna. I just want to throw it back to that moment. That was beautiful. You got it. Because I'm gonna tell just a few bullets about my story. I'm not gonna tell too much about like the really tough things, but it's a real thing. So I appreciate you sharing that. I started making music when I was 6 years old. I recorded my first mixtape on one of those cassette players. I fell in love with it then. Yep, shout out to my mom, my first audio engineer. Killed it. When I was 8 years old, I started playing the saxophone. When I was about 10 years old, I fell in love with hip hop music, thanks to one of my cousins. I grew up in Maine, so I was lucky enough to get a hold of like an epic CD book of just like the classics, Biggie, Nas, Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, DMX, Ludacris, like my favorites. Was touched deeply by that around 10. By 13, I started a hip-hop crew with this dude that just moved to my school. By 15, 16, I got in a recording studio for the first time. It was a group of older people, and that's where I really fell in love. I started writing songs, and that was like my passion. Had a few other things going on, but when I was 18, I decided to go to school for music. So I left Maine. I started at UMass Lowell I played sax, and I was learning music business at UMass Lowell. Shout out Dwayne, because I met Dwayne while I was there. He was doing that. So, is Dwayne back there? He missed his shout out. Everybody let him know he missed his shout out. Let's hear it for Dwayne anyway. We met there. When I was about 20 years old, my whole life track changed because I was impacted by working with a group of young people. So I don't know if like you talked about your son, Shauna, how deeply that can impact you. I started working with community kids at a summer camp, started a music program there. That kind of changed the trajectory of my life. Before that, I just wanted to own a record label and keep it pushing. Started working with young kids as a lifeguard and started a music program at Camp Harborview. And then it changed my course. I ended up deciding to get a master's in community art education after I finished my degree at Lowell. That's when I moved to Boston. My first apartment was in JP. Then I got a full-time job during that time working at the Charlestown Boys and Girls Club, and I did that for 3 years, and we taught hundreds of kids at that program. Joelle was one of the kids here who has now just been hired about 3 or 4 months ago as the executive assistant for the company. So that's how I met Joelle when he was 15, 14. How old are you now? 23. He's 23 now. So after 3 years of doing that, while I was doing that, I was pursuing my own music career. So when I was 2012, I was working really hard to make songs and do shows and make beats and print records. We did 15,000 copies. I did 15,000 copies by hand, CDs, and pushed them in the streets during that time. While I was doing that, I was performing every open mic you could possibly imagine. I met this guy named Ron Wilhelmsen in 2013. We became friends. He works at CBS. Never really thought there was a collaborative project in there, so I kept working for Boys and Girls Club and pursuing my own career simultaneously. I think that's where like a lot of people are at this point. You've got your main hustle, like what pays the bills, and then you got your side hustle, like your passion projects. I left Charlestown. I started working at Mattapan at the Mattapan Teen Center. While I was doing 3 years there, I was given the opportunity to write a song for the Boston Marathon. But we were a long way off. We were like one of 17 projects. We made it to the top 2. We didn't win. But they said as a consolation, we'll make a video for you. So we make the song, the Boston Marathon song, Unstoppable. And then within that year, we won a New England Emmy Award for Outstanding Musical Composition. I'm still working full time, but I saw an opportunity there. How can I make this a thing? So I leveraged this to get a song for the Patriots. When I got a song for the Patriots, that was enough money to really start to consider to transition from a part-time hustle passion project to making it my full-time. So in 2018, the end of 2018, I left my full-time job to pursue my music career, my performing arts career full-time. Thank you. So that's been now like going on 2 years. During that time, we've gotten huge contracts from Landmark Symphony Orchestra, Boston Lyric Opera. We produce JP Porch Fest. We produce Make Music Boston. We've got 2 big artist residencies going on right now, and we're doing a ton for the community to just try to like bridge the community with music, arts, and positive creative experiences. So with that being said, I know I rushed through that and I did it on purpose because how much time do I have left? Right, so I'd like to open the floor to like some questions. So I think, do we have a question in the back there? I know I do. Do you need the mic? Here. Here, slide the mic over that. If you gotta like step a little closer.
So I've been thinking about this all day, but like I've got a 9 to 5, I go to work, it's great, but a big part of that is my cup of coffee every morning and afternoon at the end of the day. But the big piece of it I think about is there's these farmers behind the scenes putting this coffee together, making this happen for me, and I realize how hard these people make this coffee and they work for this. But it's not sustainable. A lot of the times they make this coffee, they work on these farms all day long, and it gets commoditized. There's no art to it anymore. There's no specialty to it. And what ends up happening is we don't come to appreciate what's going on with their coffee product. And so something that speaks to me is this dream to really support these coffee farmers, find a way to do that. But the biggest roadblock I run into is I don't know how to take my passion and really cultivate everything else that I have going on and find the energy and the focus to say no to the things that don't grow that fire for me. I don't know how to take that passion and really turn it into making the minutes matter for what I need to do. What have you done in your experience to really grow that passion for the things you dream of?
Thanks, bro. All right, let's hear it for Tim, everybody. I think he's talking about like where do you find the passion out. My advice on that one would be before you start any like intense journey like this, make sure you get really straight on your why, like why you're wanting to do this. Is it for financial freedom? Is it for independence? Is it for creative freedom? You mentioned not working every day to produce someone else's dream, but it's time to kind of like start working on your own. So I would say just get very clear on why you want it. If the why you want it is super strong, like nothing, no adversity that you face, no challenge that you go through will stop you from achieving that, then that why is really strong. So before you embark on that journey, I would say get straight on the why. All right, I got time for maybe one more question. If it's a quick one, I might squeeze in too. Not to
Yeah,
rush.
it's quick. So I know you said you work with kids. So what is it that you want to spark? What is the motivation that you want them to have moving forward? Because I know you said you do music, you do community, which is amazing. So what do you want to spark in that child?
I think that cases are different, but for the most part, what I think one of my gifted things is that I can see somebody, and in a short amount of time, I can tell where their passions lie. And so my goal with young people is to get them to realize their own potential and their own passions, whether it's through music or anything creative arts, through sports, through different types of education things, through creativity. When you look at somebody, you know, especially young people, that there's greatness within each one of them, right? And there's so many other things that can stop them from their greatness. So it's our jobs as advocates to remind them, hey, like greatness is before you. Just be aware and work really hard and believe in it. Like the first question, like believe in your why. So that's what I try to do. All right, we got time for one more quick question. We got one more quick question? And then I'm gonna finish it up. In the back there? No, that's it. You wanna sneak forward?
So recently, I started to really take my craft very serious, and I realized the main part of it for me delaying it is, feeling worthy for the idea. So how can you, kind of inspire everybody to remind themselves that they're worthy for their ideas and never give up on what they want to do?
What's your name again? Isaiah, thank you. So awesome question. Like worthiness is a crazy thing, right? So when I was working like the 9 to 5, like you wait every 2 weeks to get a paycheck. But before you get the paycheck, it's like already spent. So if you have a job I'm assuming you can relate to that to some degree. So even believing that you're worthy to like earn a living doing what you love to do is a challenging thing. But what I will tell you, everyone in this room, that what you have, your special idea, your unique gift, your skill is special and it is worthwhile. And the majority of people, they don't even take 6 months or a year of their lives to dive into their passion for fear that it might embarrass them or might fail. But what I'm here to tell you is that it definitely can happen. I gave you a rough outline of like my life because I want you to know that like it's been formatted even when I wasn't intentionally doing it, but there was a lot of nights where I really didn't think I could do it. And even it still happens sometimes. You know, on any given day, depending upon if the check comes in the mail or doesn't come in the mail, things either happen or don't happen. It is a real thing. But, you know, believing that you can do it, feeling worthy to be able to be in charge of your own schedule and to charge $500 an hour for your time, it's a real thing. Believing that your bank account should be $5,000 or $10,000 at all times or $25,000 at all times. Being able to take $15,000 and invest it back into your career, buying all this equipment, hiring part-time staff, trying to make them full-time staff. You know, keeping really close track of all your finances. Like, make sure you write everything down. Write everything that you spend down and everything that you make. Make sure you write it down, because as an entrepreneur, if you make $50,000 but you spend $35,000 on your business, you can write all that off, so only have to pay taxes on the remainder, and that does make a big difference. So financial stuff, if you think, if I leave my job, I'm not gonna have health insurance, you can get health insurance. So where there's a will, there's a way. I wanna thank you guys. I think that's probably just about my time.